How are you? Welcome to my kitchen. Today we're going to do steaming. And we call this the ancient method of steaming because steaming really is one of the most antique cooking methods that we know of. Of course, it came out of China. The Chinese were the first cooks and just did every technique and every method you could possibly imagine. And I'm glad for them because they've taught us so much. You know, it was probably Peking man, the anthropologists tell us, was the first one to ever cook meat. The rest of us were standing around eating the old cow raw. And the Chinese, sophisticated thousands of years ago, you see, were cooking already. One of the methods that they've developed was steaming. And it's incredibly efficient, and it's fun to do, and it will not wear out your food. You know, some of the methods you use simply poop out the food. That's no fun. So let me show you some gimmicks today, gadgets you can pick up first of all, then some serious cooking implements, and then we'll give you some very serious recipes for steaming. First of all, a quick method that you can use for steaming is to go to a hardware store or a gourmet shop, and you can buy what we call basket steamers. Now, you see they have little feet in the bottom. They're stainless steel. Don't buy an aluminum one. You don't need that. They have stainless steel feet on them, and they will adjust to any size kettle that you like. Isn't that clever? Isn't that cute? Or here's a bigger one. This one's brought in by Hohen in New Jersey, and they have a great big size. I like this one. And there's a handle in the center that will come out so you can put an enormous head of cauliflower in here. Oh, you could steam a watermelon in this thing, for heaven's sakes. So that's one method. You can use the steamer, the basket gadget they call them. Secondly, you can use the old classic Chinese method, which was to use bamboo. This is what the steamer looked like, you see. It's a series of grates in the bottom. And these things will fit one on top of the other. You can stack them up, and you can cook 5 dishes from one heat source. I have 4 piled up here. Well, 3 right now, and we can put a couple more on. But 5 was traditional. 1, 2, 3 different dishes, 4, 5 if you like. It's an absolutely marvelous method of cooking, and it's not terribly expensive. Now, you're wondering, why are they still using bamboo in China? Haven't they, can't they enough technology to make metal? Well, of course. But we're always thinking that the Chinese are doing things in an old-fashioned way. For instance, chopsticks. Why aren't they using the fork? Well, it isn't that they didn't invent the fork. The Chinese did have the fork before the Europeans did. But the Chinese consider it very crude to ask a guest to sit down at dinner and work on their food with a knife and fork. They consider that laborious and insulting. So they use chopsticks, which means that the cook does all of the work ahead of time, and all they have to do is pick up the food and eat it, you see? That's why they still use chopsticks. It's a matter of grace. It's a matter of politeness. And they're also incredibly clever. Can you imagine a device that will cook 5 dishes at once from one heat source? Well, this bamboo steamer will. When you and I want to cook 5 dishes, we need 16 burners, 2 food blenders, a food processor, 6 ovens, and a weenie wink cooker, and we still can't get the thing going properly. This will work great. Now, you can buy the same thing in metal. These are from Taiwan. The only disadvantage to this, aside from its incredible bulk, you see the water goes in the bottom, then you have the same kind of layers. You see they pile up. You have 2 layers. The Chinese would have 5 in this space. But the disadvantage is that water will drip from the top. It just drips and drips and drips because the aluminum will condense, you see, the water, and it will drip on your food. So if you use a metal steamer, generally you're going to wind up with watery food, while bamboo will not condense. The steam will not condense on the bamboo itself, you see, so you won't have watery food. I like the bamboo one better. This will work in a pinch. However, you can, I've got so many gadgets here I want you to see. The other one that I think is great fun for you is to use a tuna fish can. A tuna fish can? Yes, a tuna fish can. What you do is to get a tuna fish can and punch holes in the bottom, you see? Just put some holes in the bottom so that when the can sits in the bottom of a kettle, see, it's open now, so that when the can sits in the bottom of the kettle, water can move in and out of the can. No problem. This is what you do. You simply put the old tuna fish can down inside of the kettle. You see? Then you add water to the kettle, an inch and a half or so. Then on top of that, we'll place our bowl. You see, here's a bowl we can use for steaming. Put that down that'll keep it out of the water, right? All we want is steam circulating around the dish. Now then, we're going to have water dripping off the metal lid, so we're going to put a towel over it. And then put a lid on. Be careful. Don't do this over a burner. You'll have a fire on your towel, and then you'll call me up and say, hey, Frug, you dummy. Anyhow, put a towel over it. Put the flaps up on the top, you see. Hold it down with a jelly jar or a cup or something, and that will prevent the water from dripping on the food. It will drip on the towel instead. You see? Those are the gadgets. Now, there's one that is what I would call not a drastic necessity, but it's so lovely. Excuse me, I need my jar here. It's so lovely that you've got to see it. This is a Hunan steamer. These are imported from mainland China, the old classic Chinese red clay. Isn't this gorgeous? Look at the bird on him. Isn't he beautiful? you see? And inside, you see, the thing looks like a donut. You're cooking with it. It looks like an angel food pan, I suppose, out of red clay. There's a hole in the bottom here that forms this big tip. And there's a hole in the tip so that the steam enters in through the into the bowl through this tip from the bottom. You see? And you put your food in here, put the lid on, and then put it over a pan of boiling water, and it will fit right down inside. Just seals beautifully. Let me show you. You see, it's cooking away now, and I have in this pan, ouch, it's a little warm, I have some chicken going. You'll have to see it later. It's really hot. But you see the steam comes up through this little tip in the top. And it's a tip in the top? Yes. And it works well. I just love these things. I'll just put them over here. I'll show you how to do that. Matter of fact, let's start with that dish. This is a steamed chicken dish. You don't have to use a fancy steamer for this dish. You can use the bamboo. Or if you're going to use a basket steamer, the metal one you remember, then you have to put everything in a bowl first. Otherwise, it's going to drip on through, right? So you put all these things in a bowl, unless you want things to drip down on your steamer. Okay, we're going to shut that one off because it's going to steam us all to death. The first dish I want to prepare for you then is a chicken dish that we'll call chicken with onion. And it's easily done. I have cut up some chicken pieces already. Let me show you how to use a cleaver properly. Here, let's find some space here. When you use a cleaver, please understand that if the cleaver does not land flat on the counter, you're going to shatter the bone. You see, if it lands this way, you're in trouble. If it lands this way, you're in trouble. So you have to chop this way. That means that you don't use your wrist. You don't do this sort of thing. You go whonk, whonk with a straight wrist, and then you can get some action. You got it? So we're going to cut up a couple of chicken legs here, and this should work in one whack, you see, if I know what I'm doing. Well, of course I don't because you're watching. There it is. How do you like the noise? Take some motion in your hand. Here's a thigh. We'll just cut him right in half. And that way you're not going to shatter the bone, you see? We have enough pieces now. So we'll get our wok going. Our Chinese frying pan. And, of course, they invented that, too. This has something to do with helmets during the Bronze Age. I can't quite get all the story on this, but the idea of the wok came from the bronze helmet in ancient China. Can you imagine wearing a wok on your head? Well, if there's enough oil in it, at least it'll keep your hair slicked down. It'll work. We'll have that hot in a minute. In the meantime, let's prepare the marinade for our dish here. Chicken with onion. And for a very quick marinade, I simply want to use a little bit of light soy. You've heard me say this before, I think. A little bit of light soy sauce, sherry, and ginger provide us with the classic marinade from China. It will help cut down on the flavor of animal fat. And the Chinese aren't particularly fond of that. There's a little ginger grater here. Isn't he cute? Looks like a little scrub board. You can find these in any Oriental market, and any gourmet catalog should have them. Ginger grater. Sometimes it's called a citrus grater. And I like the porcelain ones. Much easier to keep clean and easy to use. We need a shot of sherry, and we have our basic 3 in here, you see? Now we're going to marinate that. I think we're on a pinch of brown sugar, too. Just a smidgen. And I'm using brown sugar because that's just, a half teaspoon. That's really much more typical of the kind of sugar that the Chinese use in their cooking. It's called a block sugar, and it's very brown and very rich. Okay, I would let that marinate. The chicken in, how much chicken? Well, that's 2/3 of a chicken. What's the difference? It depends on how much chicken you're cooking, but the marinade is the same. 2 parts of soy, 1 part of dry sherry, shot of ginger, and you're on your way. That's all there is to it. Little pinch of brown sugar, and you're set. Now, we're going to get our wok good and hot. Can you see all of this? I think we can. And remember now, the pan has to be hot first, and then you add the oil. After the pan is hot, then throw in the food. That way the oil will not burn. You've heard me say it before, but it's a very basic rule. The rule is hot wok, cold oil, foods won't stick. And it works. So the pan is hot, so in goes, whoops, I'm putting sherry in here. I don't want that, I want peanut oil. There we are. A little bit of peanut oil, 2 or 3 tablespoons for our chicken. And we're going to chow the chicken until it's barely brown. Won't take long. And I probably won't have time to cook this long enough for you, but it doesn't really matter. You notice I've left the marinade in the pan. Don't throw that in the wok. Take your meat out. Drain it. Otherwise, it will chill the wok. It'll cool the wok too rapidly, and you'll be stuck with a cold wok when you want real heat. All right. We'll let that cook for a bit. It will start to brown. All we want to do is barely brown this. Won't take long. And in the meantime, let's cut up a yellow onion. And when you're cutting an onion, you can use your cleaver if you like. Cut the bottom end off the onion first. We've talked about that too, I'm sure. And that way you're much less likely to cry. Keep your fingers bent under, for heaven's sake. And we'll whack off an entire outer peel here so that we can, and we'll save that part for our soup stock. Old lines, I hope. I hope you've been with me enough so that you can predict my lines, because I want you to remember these things. That's what frugal cooking is all about. It should be fun, and you should cook with some arrogance, because you know you're saving some money and you're cooking great things for your family. See what I've done with that onion half? 4 across. Let me do one more for you here. Cut the onion in half. It went 1, 2, 3. Cut it in half. Or turn it around and cut it in half this way, and it'll be perfect. They'll all fall apart into little leaves when we put them in the wok, you see? All right. Now let me get a bowl here for us, or a platter to put our chicken on. Not quite brown, but it'll be good. We'll take him out now. I want you to cook yours a little bit longer. You cook yours until he's good and brown. You see how it's barely beginning to brown here a little bit? I want it, all of it brown like that. Take you about, well, maybe 8 minutes on high heat. But at the moment, I want to get our onion into the pan. This is a great dish. I just love it. Get our onion into the old wok, and we'll saute the onion a bit. That'll take a couple of more minutes. We'll do this separately. Remember, that's a basic Chinese rule. Cook everything separately so that it comes to its own point of fulfillment. A little bit of oil. That's the difference between a stew, you see, a stew and a properly prepared dish in China. In our culture, we're wont to make everything the same, and so we love stews. We just cook everything to death until it's all the same texture. In China, that's considered immoral. You cook everything individually, then at the last minute throw it together, so that everything has its own proper texture and all. Okay, we'll cook the onions for a bit, and then put the chicken back in the wok, and add to that some peas, just frozen peas. I'm using, half a box. You see? Nothing to it. Toss that about, and I'm going to turn the heat off. I think that's enough here. And we'll now put it in a steamer, and I'm going to use one of my fancy steamers. So you could put this in a bowl, of course, and then put it in your regular bamboo steamer, or put the bowl on top of a basket steamer, or put the bowl on top of Jeff Smith's secret tuna fish can method. And that will work too, but don't forget the towel on the top. Otherwise you'll have too much moisture in your food. Isn't this a gorgeous dish? It's just a lovely thing. You can't tell me this is complicated now, can you? It's very simple. Yes, you can do it in a regular frying pan. You don't need all this fancy equipment. There we go. Though I don't consider a wok fancy. I consider a wok basic. I think you've got to have a good wok. And for heaven's sakes, don't buy an aluminum one or a stainless steel wok. Buy a good steel, a plain steel wok, spun steel. You want, not stainless steel, but black steel. You can find one in any good Oriental market or a good gourmet shop. I'm going to let this sit aside because I already have one cooking. Now, thirdly, what have we got? 1, 2. The second thing I want to cook for you is a fish dish. So simple that you can't believe it. Let me throw one together here. I'm simply going to place the fish in a bowl. Isn't this cute? Isn't this cute? This is a fish bowl from China. Fish is the symbol of plenteousness in ancient China, because a great net full of fish, you see, was considered a gorgeous sign. That's why I wear a jade fish all the time. You should see him, as a matter of fact. I've had this on since we first started doing shows on the Frugal Gourmet in 1974, something like this. And there was a gift from a Chinese friend of mine in San Francisco. It's a carp from the China Sea, a piece of old nephrite jade. There you are. And contrary to the cat in Los Angeles, who thought he understood what this was, it is not a shark's tooth, thank you. It's a symbol of plenteousness, and she gave it to me because she likes me and wants me to enjoy life. So I wear the fish all the time. Now, to my fish, I'm going to add just a little bit of light soy. Just splash it on there. And I'm going to grind some pepper on top. So simple. Grind some pepper right on the top and put a few lemon slices on this. And that will go into the steamer too. And the fish will not take long. Oh, by the way, the chicken will cook for about 35 or 40 minutes once you get the water going. Huh? Boy, that's run into a really pulpy lemon here. There we go. We'll just lay the old lemon slices right on top of the dish. Pepper and lemon and soy. Isn't that great? And it really does work. It's a nice dish. All right, we'll set that aside because that's already in my steamer. Now, the next one that I want you to think about is a little meatball dish. It's kind of a Chinese pierogi or a Chinese ravioli. They did it first. I swear to God they did it first. Pork. I have about 3/4 of a pound of good lean pork that I've ground rather coarsely. I want a tablespoon or so of light soy sauce, about a 1/2 tablespoon of dry sherry, You're yelling at one another. That wasn't half a tablespoon. Let me do the cooking, will you? It was pretty close. It was pretty close. And a bit of ginger. And ginger strictly to taste. You just do it any way you like. There we go. I like a lot of ginger in this dish. And it's a pork meatball in a little dumpling skin. And it's called a shumai. Shumai. S-H-U-M-E-I. Shumai. And it's pronounced downhill. Chinese always goes downhill. Da-da, da-da. So it's not shumai. And it's not shumai. It's shumai. Shumai. When you go into a restaurant and ask for shumai, he'll be very charmed and you'll get good service. Let's add a pinch of cornstarch to this. Probably a good teaspoon. Well, let's say half a tablespoon, huh? You're wondering, does this guy write his recipes before he starts? Well, sometimes. Sometimes. And we want an egg. All right. And let's see how that yolk fell apart. See how that yolk fell apart? Probably means it's not a terribly good egg. I'm not impressed. Not impressed. And let's see. We need some sesame oil. When you buy sesame oil at the market, be sure you get Oriental sesame. About a teaspoon or so of sesame. I want it toasted. You see, it's to look brown like this. You see, it's not clear like a salad oil. And this is used as a perfume in cooking. It's lovely stuff. And how about a shot of garlic, huh? Why not for our pork shumai or fancy pork meatball? There we go. And I think I need a pinch of brown sugar, just because I have a lot of salt in the soy sauce. How about some green onion? Think that'd be good too? Let's do it. Let's put in a pinch of green onion. What's a pinch? All right, it's close to a tablespoon. Mix that up. Now, I want you to stir this until you feel it beginning to bind. That is to say, it will begin to blend the lean and the fat together. There, it's beginning to be harder to stir now. I can feel the change with my hand. And that's how long I want you to stir it. Till it will, use your fingers, for heaven's sakes. Nothing else will work. And mix it until it begins to blend, and then it'll become thicker and thicker and thicker. You see? Now the whole thing is nice and thick. That's what we want. Let me wash my hand off here, and we'll begin on pork shumai. I want to show you how to fold these. They're really kind of a kick. And I think that it's necessary to now and then prepare a dish for your family that's a little strange and a little flamboyant. And I'll show you how it's done. All right, we have some wonton skins we picked up in the supermarket. Of course you can roll your own, and yes, I do know how, but it takes some time. And I don't think you need to spend the time. Most supermarkets in the country now are carrying a large selection of wonton skins and pickles and things from China. Isn't that great? There, I have one done. Now let me show you one from scratch here. They're simple to do. Take the skin, and a wonton skin, one, you see, put about a fat tablespoon of meat right in the center. Then you fold up both sides, 1, 2, then the other 2 sides, 3, 4. Then you squeeze this little critter just a bit, bloop, not much, just so the meat comes up to the top. Then you can use that to seal the whole thing together. Then whap him one on the bottom, give him a spanking, and then he'll sit up like a little money bag. This is a typical New Year's dish, a very delicious thing, and it's to make you think of wealth for the coming New Year, you see. Make a few more. As a matter of fact, let me get a lid here, or a rack. I would put these in my steamer basket right away. And you just pile these up in here. Cover the whole thing with wonton skins stuffed with pork shumai filling. You see? One more for you. And here we'll do another. Put him in the center. See how simple this is? The neat thing about this dish is that when you teach the kids to roll them, got it? Now give just a squeeze. Boop. And then push the meat back in, and that will give you a chance to seal the skin at the top, you see? Leave it open. It's supposed to be open. And then pack it down. Here, give it a little spanking at the bottom, and it will sit up fine, you see? Shumai. Anyhow, the neat thing is to get the kids into the kitchen, and they can just have a field day making this sort of food. And that's what you want to do. Cooking with your children, cooking with your lover, cooking with your friends is so much better than buying instant foods or buying things off the rack. You know, who needs it? I found a jar of whipping cream yesterday that was dated, I don't know, 2 or 3 years hence. And I began to wonder, what's going on in the supermarket business? See, you and I need to think about cooking things in the freshest possible manner, not just because they're going to be much healthier for us that way, but because you and I are going to enjoy them more. And that's the point. There's no point in cooking if you're not going to enjoy the final product. And I want you to cook 1 day a week. Make a bowl of shumai filling, for instance, and stick it in the refrigerator. And then 2 days later, that's fine. You can still get by with that. You can invite the kids in and say, okay, we're all ready. Tonight we have shumai. God, I didn't even know you made shumai. We'll do it together. And then you come to the table, the whole rack of these things, and a little glass of wine, a nice green salad. You'll be declared a hero or heroine, depending which camp you want to be in. All right, I have another one for you that can be done very quickly. Some vegetables, for instance, work great in a steamer. And this is so complicated, I don't expect you to understand this recipe. If you don't, write us and we'll send you the recipe. This is too complicated for words. Are you ready? Make some carrot very thin carrot sticks. Put them in the dish, right? I don't peel carrots. Good Lord. Carrot he never expected to be peeled. He's shocked to death. On this side, you put some zucchini, right? Then on the top, you put the tiniest bit of salt. As a matter of fact, you could probably salt these later. And a stiff shot of pepper. And then a couple of slices of little pats of butter or margarine, depending on how you like to do things. I really think that butter, in the long run, is going to prove to be better for us than margarine. If we need fat in our diet, and we need a little bit, there's certainly no point. No, that's not a lot. That's less than a tablespoon for the whole dish. Cut it out. In any case, I think that butter is going to prove to be better for us than margarine. Hydrogenated vegetable fats, I think, are going to be very, very hard to digest. So cut down on the butter fat, but I still have a little bit to enjoy. So I'm going to put this in my steamer, too. There. Now, I'm going to show you one more dish. It's a custard. And I'm going to make it with boiled water because you don't want the custard to, water that comes from the tap is full of oxygen, live oxygen. You see it will bubble out. So what you want to do is boil the water flat so that the live oxygen in the water is gone, is dissipated. The water is then cooled, and you mix that with 2 eggs. You laugh at this recipe, but I'll show you how it goes. We're going to add 2 eggs to a bowl here. My eggs are at room temperature, always. Much easier to work with that way. 1. You're going to laugh at me and wonder whether or not this is going to work, but it will work. 2 eggs. And we're going to steam this custard. We're not going to bake it. It's going to be gorgeous. All right, that's not quite. Whip that up properly. Now, to that, we're going to add 1 cup of boiled water. Now, this is flat water, you see. Well, you see. Well, I mean, water looks like water. You're going to have to trust me. It looks flat to me. Anyhow, did you get that? 2 eggs to an entire cup of flat water. Cooled, of course. Don't put hot water in here. You're going to have real trouble. Now, I'll transfer that to a cooking dish. I'm going to use a small baking dish here. What would I like to put in that? Well, I think I'd like some green onions and perhaps a chunk of ham. The ham would give it a nice flavor. We don't need much here, that's for sure. Just a few tidbits of ham. And we'll put that in our steamer, and it'll take about 15 minutes. And then it will set up beautifully like a heavy custard. And you're wondering about whether or not this is going to work, aren't you, huh? Well, I'm glad that you're so pessimistic because I'm going to win today. I hope. I'm going to put in just a smidgen of sesame oil, like a teaspoon, no more. All right? And that will go into our steamer, too. Now, let me clear this off, and I'm going to unload all of these dishes, and you'll see what they look like straight out of the steamer for the method of jing, as we call it in China, or steaming, as you can call it in your front room, huh? First of all, let me undo the, what a mess. Let me undo the chicken dish here. The pan's been bubbling. Ouch, that's hot. I would take this to the table right in the dish. With the peas and the onions, do you remember? And I would serve it thusly. Look at it bubbling away just from steam. It's just beautiful heat. And then we'll show you some others here. Oh, you want to see the custard? That's the fun one. Where is it? Here it is. And you're wondering, here's the cup to hold it on, the cloth towel to keep it from dripping on my custard. And inside I have 1 dish of custard, you see? And if you don't wonder about that, let me find a spoon and show you that it really is a custard. Look at that. 1 cup of water, 2 eggs, a bit of ham. Look at how beautiful that is. You see, of course, the moisture forms in the egg, but it's a lovely dish. You'll enjoy serving this. It's very good. Now let's undo the big steamer for the big time stuff. The big time stuff comes out of this one. Whew. First of all, we have some steamed carrots and zucchini. And these are crunchy. They're still fresh and good. You don't need that worn out food in your house. Boiled vegetables, you know, when you buy a frozen package and on the package it says cook for 2 days. You don't want to do that. And some fish with lemon and pepper. I'll put that out for you. I'm burning my fingers. Yes, you're right. And I do appreciate your concern. And finally, I have a whole rack of shumai. You see? See how these are? Are they gorgeous? There they are. Right out of the steamer. We have 5 dishes. There should be 5 here. Yes, I want to be sure I had everything. We have a beautiful chicken dish in a Hunan steamer with onion and peas. Then we have a custard dish that's lovely and easy to do with 2 eggs and 1 cup of flat water. We then have a vegetable that you can use any kind of vegetable you want. Broccoli's terrific with these. This method, anything you like. And a fish dish, little lemon and pepper, soy sauce. That's easy. And finally, the old shumai. And the shumai are just terrific. The little fat money bag. By the way, I did oil the bottom of this steamer with just a bit of, I've just brushed it with a bit of peanut oil so that these wouldn't stick. Steaming is simple, it's very, very old, it's nutritious, and it's great fun. I want you to do it. I'm glad we could simmer today together and cook. Until we see you again then, this is the Frugal Gourmet. I bid you peace. Bye-bye.